Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of LIST, a little series I'm doing to cover a bunch of broad subjects that interest me. LIST stands for Life is Short, because I always think, even in the grand scheme of things, if life is short, there's still plenty of time to talk about a bunch of dumb or interesting things. In today's topic, we'll be covering realization and self-awareness, and some interesting things I've just found out about myself recently, and the whole topic in general. For me, I have an interesting example of the realization and the self-awareness journey that I just went on through the past couple days. So for my example, I was having some internet troubles because bills are bills, internet went out, and I was having to deal with mobile hotspot data and it being finicky and not being able to use my computer properly. One of my favorite videos I've made is proper technology use, and I would really suggest watching it. But looking back on it now and realizing what I can't do with proper internet, I was realizing, man, I am like the people who I made a video about where I am just on my computer a lot more than I ever realized. Once I had that internet part really eliminated and me being janky with it, I just started to really get annoyed and be like, I want to go back to my YouTube videos and start watching them. And then I just took a step back and was like, oh, I'm on YouTube like basically all day. Even if I wanted to admit I did stuff other than YouTube, still in the end of the day, I am still on YouTube for quite a majority of my days. And once I realized that, is a really important step when you have certain habits, is just the proper realization of what they are and how you can go forward from them. Maybe you're realizing you've maybe felt more physically weak and you want to get stronger, and you realize that you can maybe start training yourself. But you can realize facts, but it depends how you properly deal with it after the realization. And that's where self-awareness came into play. For me, the self-awareness was, oh, I am on YouTube a bunch. You know what I should do instead of this crappy random videos I'm watching for the whole entire day? Maybe with this mobile hotspot, let me just go watch some more interesting videos that I would rather not want to watch, but might get me motivated to do other things. I watched this guy build a really cool desk. I watched this guy tinker around with a PS5 and install custom firmware on it. And then I watched a self-improvement video about just some things you can do when you're alone. And those videos, otherwise, I'd be interested in, but the random videos I watch that are just gaming related and whatnot would always take priority over it. And once I watched those videos and just realized my predicament of, oh crap, I'm on YouTube, it was that self-awareness of, what can I do from here? That self-awareness literally came today, and now I'm thinking of proper ways I can try and stray away from YouTube and put that into something else. Like for me, I still love journaling every day, but I want to see if I can maybe take some more mental stuff like that to do that'll last longer, because it might only take me 10 minutes to journal my thoughts out, but that's only 10 minutes and the want to go back to YouTube is still there, so maybe trying out like meditation or something. I've recently tried starting to do some basic workout stuff just to get my body more active, and going down that rabbit hole, it made me just realize the whole entire outdoor scenario. I know I've mentioned outdoors a lot already on this channel, but I still need to take my own advice of properly taking advantage of it and just taking that walk without technology and just enjoying the atmosphere around it. I find it really important to balance out that technology, like I made that video about, but then also the hobbies and finding them and realizing what they can actually do for you as a person and being self-aware on what you can do to make sure they keep happening. I feel a lot of people struggle in that realization phase, because I feel like for me it's on a spectrum of realization to self-awareness, where you realize something and you have to slowly go up the scale to get to self-awareness to truly be able to do that thing properly. For me, I'm going to give an example of, for instance, public speaking. I didn't ever realize I was good at public speaking. And when I did my schooling and learned I was good at public speaking, I had that realization. But when it was just that realization, it was like, cool, it's realization. I realized I'm good at it. And it was only when I had the self-awareness to properly think about the scenarios it can teach me is when I actually got the most from it and moved from that realization phase to the self-awareness phase, where I was trying to properly do things to help my public speaking, get better at it, and slowly develop it into using it in actual proper ways. That is what I feel like is a real important skill that I never really realized I even thought of or had, but I feel like it's a skill that everyone needs, is the realization to self-awareness meter and how to properly use it in your day-to-day life. Like with that YouTube example, realizing you're watching too much YouTube, too much social media, you've realized it. How are you going to take action to it? Get the proper self-awareness to realize where the faults are at and what can help with it. I'm no motivational guy, but I just thought that scale was an interesting metric to use in my personal day-to-day to just try and help me stray away from things I just otherwise don't want to do. Because I know I could spend my days learning new hobbies, going outside, exploring around my neighborhood. There's so many interesting things I know I'd love, but there are just those certain things, like YouTube, that just really get in the way of that mindset. And the only way to properly get through it and get the realization is to realize. I'd realized I was using YouTube too much because I had internet issues. And once I realized is when I start running up the self-awareness meter. And it's not a journey that just happens. You have to be, I would say, open-minded to properly go through that journey to get to self-awareness. Is once you realize something, you gotta try and dig deep into the problem. Not in a way where you're sitting there for hours, but just giving it thought for a couple minutes of being like, this thing is annoying me. I never realized it annoyed me this bad and how it's interfering with my life. I wonder how I can start to do something different so it doesn't annoy me. That's exactly the kind of thinking that gets you into self-awareness, while realizing is just, oh, hey, that thing's pretty bad. That's what I feel like people should really at least take away from this little talk right here, is just about that meter. Something I've always wanted to just learn and be better at is proper time management, because for me, I can get sucked away in hours about anything if I have my mind dedicated to it. But getting that proper dedication, I did not realize how talented some people are, and just the ability for 8 hours a day be able to do a craft. Like, for instance, building a table from scratch. I watched that great video I talked about a bit earlier, but that guy took so many hours and spent so much money into just building a table, but he dedicated so much time to it and just had that idea of like, I want to build a cool desk and a table. And he did it, and he had the dedication to that time. And that's something I'm trying to realize more of. How can that dedication be used in my life to make me actually go through with the stuff? Because I would say dedication goes hand in hand with self-awareness, where if you're self-aware about a problem and then dedicated to solve it, is where those two collide, and you can really, I would say, turn your life around in so many different scenarios. Dedication is a hard thing to do because sometimes it feels like you can't get dedicated to something, you can't maybe get motivated to do something. I almost feel like the trifecta is motivation, dedication, and self-awareness. Those I feel like are at least the trifecta that I always try and have that idea in my head about, and at least try and have one of those going through my head at a time. It's more of a subconscious thing because I'm not thinking, all right, I gotta be like one of these 3 words. It's more of a thing to look back on situations and just be glad that you maybe took one of those words out and been like, I was really dedicated to that project. I got that motivation to do that thing. I had the self-awareness to realize this. Those exact little scenarios of looking back and just being able to put a simple word to that scenario, I find is the best way to properly learn and use that knowledge into the future and better your life. I think we can all agree that being able to better your life is the best thing, because like the motto of what this is called, life is short. I never try and make it seem like a scary thing that life is short, but it's to show that life is short in the grand scheme of things, but it is super long still. And that what you can do in that time, if you dedicate, motivate, and self-awareness, you're able to truly do inspiring things that sometimes seem completely impossible. I know an example for me is, another one is, I remember I did a backpacking trip. And on that trip, we were supposed to do a 7-mile hike. it turned into a 14-mile hike, and the amount of mental game I had to go through was intense, and I don't know if I've ever been so focused and dedicated before in my life to get through it, but still enjoy it in the moment and be motivated to get to that end goal while being self-aware about my own health and trying not to fall over and faint. Just using those type of examples on your life, I would say, is a really good thing. And I would say if you can find that trifecta of words, maybe for you, maybe it's self-awareness, motivation, and dedication. Maybe you have 3 other words. Just finding little things like that to put on your life. Maybe use them as just some nice reminders to make sure you're heading on the right path that you want to go on. Anyways, that's all I have for today. I hope you enjoyed watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.